So welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. It's our lunch and learn. My name is Shantae Hatcher. I'm happy to be here at this workshop talking about finances. The title of this is Navigating This Uncertain Time, Strategies to Support Clients Facing Financial Challenges. And, it might not just be the clients. It might be some of us as well. Just a couple of housekeeping. As I said, there's some room, the Q&A box for questions. If you have questions during this time, we will take those. I will read those aloud for our instructors. But feel free to put comments in the chat, but if you want your question answered, put it in the Q&A box. After the training, give us about 15 minutes to go back to the system to complete the evaluation so that you can download your certificate. There will be an evaluation at the end. And so I will introduce our speakers for today. We have Sue Rogan. She has done many workshops with us, but she is a director of strategic partnership at Cash Campaign of Maryland, where she leads the expansion and support of asset building coalitions and partnership development to cultivate the broaden of a group of stakeholders across the state who are committed to asset building programs such as financial education, financial coaching, and tax preparation. We also have Veronica Purcell Crosby, who is the program manager for tax and financial capabilities, also with Cash Campaign of Maryland. In this role, Veronica provides direct services to clients who need to be connected to money-saving benefits and free tax preparation. We just got through April 15th. Veronica has over 10 years of experience in human services, which includes program director and case management in areas of housing, homelessness, and social services. So let's welcome both of our instructors for today, and I will turn it over to Sue.
Shantae, thank you so much for that. Good afternoon, everyone. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with us. So let me get started with the technology. Veronica, can we see the screen okay? Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So for those of you who may not know us, we are the Cash Campaign of Maryland. Cash stands for Creating Asset Savings and Hope. We promote the economic advantage and advancement of low to moderate income individuals in Baltimore and across Maryland. What that means is we provide a lot of programs and services to help people build their financial health. So we're going to go over what those are so you can refer people to us, as well as dive into some content that you can use with individuals, friends, family, or clients who may be experiencing difficulty during this time. So I do want to turn for just a minute, if you could find the chat and just put your, not your name so much, but your organization, if you're representing an organization. I saw some are some private practice. And if you know anything or see anything, what's going on during this time for federal government employees. Do you have friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, and what are they experiencing? Oh, Dwyer Workforce, yay! We've definitely been talking with you all. Thank you. Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, Johns Hopkins Community Physicians, Northwest Neighbors Village, DC, Kenny Krieger, welcome, Cornerstone, Francesca Miles, Thrive Clinic, thank you, DW Hospital, Solar Practice on the Eastern Shore, private practice, one is a federal employee. Thank you for that. City of Greenbelt, HOC, we've done a lot of work with you all, holistic healing counseling, private practice, and prior federal contractor until October. Thank you for sharing that. Montgomery County, that was my background with consumer protection many years ago there. The school system, BT, Baltimore City Department of Social Services. Thank you all so much for putting where you're coming from and sort of what your lens is with coming to this workshop today. I'm going to do just a little bit of introduction of Veronica and myself. So Veronica, I'll let you go first if you want to just talk a little bit about your background and the work that you're doing.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Veronica Purcell Crosby, and I am a program manager I work on both sides of the house. So I work on the tax side with the tax team, just finished wrapping up with tax season and leading one of the tax sites. We are a volunteer income tax assistance program, VITA for short. So not only do we do tax preparation, but we do our very best to educate our tax clients about their returns and help them to do some planning for the following tax season moving forward. And then I also work alongside Sue on her team with financial capability and doing direct service. I have a team that provides benefit screenings, mainly quite a few social service benefits, federal, state, local benefits as well, connecting people, helping them with their application process, and providing much needed referrals and other services that they might bring up while we are meeting with those individuals, as well as helping with facilitating workshops such as these, as well as out in the community at large.
Thanks, Veronica. And Jessica, I see you've joined us. Thank you so much for coming from the office of Senator Chris Van Hollen. And please do convey our thanks for the work that he's doing to try and protect Marylanders and to assist with all these things that are going on right now. We really appreciate his champion and his work. So just a little bit of my background. I actually was the recipient of a reduction in force back with Montgomery County many years ago. And so I've kind of lived through some of the work that we're going to talk to you today about. And then since joining Cash, we did a lot of financial education and started our work during the 2008-2009 financial and housing crisis. So we really were responsive at that time to try and help people get through that situation. And then certainly during the pandemic, we quickly went to webinars and doing financial education, counseling, and coaching to help people get through that financial crisis. So we have some experience in trying to give some tips and ideas for people to, again, navigate this difficult time. And we appreciate you being here and sort of being the ambassadors to take this information and spread it in your communities. So just some thoughts and ideas on what cash services and programs that we provide that you can refer people to. The first one you've heard a little bit about is the free tax preparation services. That is available for families who earn under $67,000 a year. It is a free service. The income cap comes from the IRS regulations. We just wrapped up the 2024 season, so we'll be doing back taxes coming up soon and then ramping up for next year. So if you know anyone that's eligible for this, one of the things that I appreciate about this not only is that people can have their taxes done in a credible and very authentic way, so making sure that they're avoiding any tax preparer fraud, they're also being connected to other programs and services at the time of being able to get their taxes done. So we run sites in Baltimore. We have partners across the state for it. We really want to make sure that people take advantage of this. And one note that we will kind of make too, though, is when you're referring people, families, friends, clients to this, please try and get them to make appointments early because it is a very valuable service that people like. We have clients that come back year after year and appointments do book up kind of quickly. So as soon as the season opens, please do refer people to it right away. We also have financial education workshops, and we have a conference coming up. These are all hosted on our website, mdcashacademy.org. And that website was created to sort of be the central location for fact-based, credible classes that give people the space and really a judgment-free zone to learn about money, because we know it's hard to learn about money. You can certainly put something in the chat, yes or no, if you actually had a class at some point in your life that taught you everything that you needed to know to manage money. I certainly did not. So one of our aspects and goals and aspirations in creating this is to give people that safe space to come learn things about creating a spending plan or learning about how to build their credit or deal with debt if necessary, certainly for protecting themselves. Thank you. Not everything learned to do taxes in college, though. That's awesome. Never had a class like that. I wish I had. Catherine, I sure wish I had too. I'd be in a better place, certainly throughout life if I'd had that information earlier on. So we screen all the educators and all the content and curriculum through these classes to make sure that everything's up to date because things change regularly. And very importantly, that no one is selling any products or services in these classes or providing investment advice unless they're licensed to do so. As you can imagine, we sort of feel like we are competing with TikTok and the Finfluencers, which are financial influencers that are out there giving all this information without having any credentials behind them or, really any kind of credibility. So one of our new endeavors that we're going to be launching this year is to create micro learning. So very short, sort of TikTok-ish, one kind of topic at a time. So people can look through it while they're cooking dinner or whatever and kind of make it very easy. Not everybody can attend an hour or an hour and a half workshop to get the information that they need. Agree with it should be taught in high school. You may be aware in Maryland, it's been many years that legislation has been proposed to make financial education a high school graduation requirement. It has not passed. What's in place now is that there are a set of standards that the Maryland State Department of Education let the different jurisdictions know how they need to meet them, but it's up to the jurisdiction on how they decide to meet them. So it's not a comprehensive or coordinated effort across our state yet. So please refer people to Cash Academy. We have a financial education summit. Veronica, if you don't mind trying to find the link for the summit and put it in the chat, people can still register. It is next Tuesday. It's virtual. It's free. We would love for you to attend that or as much of it as you would like to. Veronica talked a little bit about our benefits screenings program. One of the things that I really appreciate for Veronica's team is that they are so empathetic with the people they're talking to, because when people are calling to see if they're eligible for benefits, they're generally a little stressed, and a little and not in a great place. Her team is very effective in working with them, trying to find out what they could be eligible for, and as she said, taking the time to actually help them fill out the application. So please do refer people to us for that as well, and you'll hear more about that in a little bit. We have a financial coaching program where people can work one-on-one with a coach for any number of sessions that they choose. We use an organization called Trust Plus to provide this service. They have very competent, trained coaches who speak many different languages to be able to meet the needs of the people they're coaching. And people can access this very easily. It's going to be online. They're going to download the app for it. They get to scroll through and pick the coach that they want, looking at their experience and things that they like to focus on. The coach will help them set a goal. As you can imagine, coaching is not going to be telling the person what to do. It's going to be helping them to find the steps. Coaching is based on the premise that everyone is an expert in their own life, and sometimes they just need someone to walk with them while they're working on their goals. So this is a free service available to anyone, yourselves, your friends, your family, your clients. So please do look into that as well. We also have financial fitness fairs. These are really just fun events where people get to come either do a class, shredding events may happen at some of them. They have pulling credit reports at some, youth zones. So it's just a fun day to come learn different aspects around building financial health. There's one coming up this Saturday in Prince George's County at the community college. And if you check on Cash Academy, you will see them throughout the year. We have them in Carroll County. Money Power Day is our biggest one in Baltimore City, of course. Anne Arundel County, again, Prince George's County, and some other counties are developing them. So please check the website to look for new ones coming up. We do a lot of advocacy and policy. So if you're interested in letting us know what you're seeing in the work that you're doing that you feel needs to be addressed by bringing it up to elected officials, we have a place on our website where you can go in and put that information in and reach out to our policy team. They do a lot of work with elected officials to educate them on the needs of the individuals that we're working with. In particular, we've been doing a lot of work to promote and advance the Earned Income Tax Credit. And then lastly, I just want to let you know about the Bank on Maryland program, which is a national program from the Cities for Financial Empowerment to connect people to safe and affordable bank accounts. So these accounts are what's called certified accounts because they must meet certain guidelines. The banks or financial institutions, credit unions actually apply to have their account reviewed to make sure it meets the parameters that are being required of it, such as no overdraft fees allowed whatsoever, very low, if any, fees whatsoever to either maintain it or to open the account. And then one of the things I really appreciate about it is that if someone is listed negatively in ChexSystems, and if you don't know, ChexSystems is a consumer database where financial institutions report the behaviors of their customers. So similar to a credit reporting agency, but only on behaviors that have happened at financial institutions. Sometimes people in the past have been listed negatively there because they experienced a lot of overdraft fees and decided they were not going to pay them and they were just going to leave that financial institution where they incurred those fees. So now they have a negative listing in check systems. In the past, before certified accounts, most financial institutions would not open up an account for someone if they're listed negatively. But under the Bank On program, it is a requirement that financial institutions open up a Bank On certified account if the person even is listed there negatively, as long as it's not considered fraud. So we have 28 different financial institutions that offer these accounts in Maryland. So please do check out that website if you have someone who needs access to a safe and affordable bank account. So with that, I'll just leave 1 second and see if you have any questions about our programs and services.
So far, I don't see anything in the chat, Sue.
Okay, thank you. This isn't your last chance, so feel free to put it in there as you still do.
There was one question about, someone said how much again, but I think they were referring to the free tax prep. So I think it was 65,000.
67,000.
67,000.
And that may change next year, we'll see, but for this year, that was the amount. And again, just to emphasize that all of our programs and services are free of charge. We do receive grant funding to be able to provide them. All right, so let's jump into our content area today and talk about what it is that federal government employees are experiencing. You can see here in this chart, and this was just a few days ago, I think it's probably changed since then, that the reduction in force has really gone across multiple different federal government agencies. So this is just an approximation so far of these different agencies and what the reduction in their employment has been so far. So what we're seeing is that some have just completely lost their job. So the income has completely ceased. That's it. Then some have accepted and participated in the federal buyout. So they're going to get some sort of buyout payment amount. Then their income is going to cease. And others are experiencing uncertainty. They just don't know if they're going to lose their job, and they need to be prepared in case they do. So I have this video for you from WUSA. All right, and Veronica, if you can give me a thumbs up if you at some point can see it and hear it.
Big ideas.
Let's continue our federal workforce coverage, this time focusing on the impact it's having on our community. Now, we know it's not just workers, but contractors and families that are affected. So our Jacqueline Quinn is taking a look at what to do. And Jacqueline, there's two things at work here. What to do if you think you may lose your job, and what to do if you have been fired already.
Yeah, you know, this is such a stressful time for so many here in the DMV, where 20% of all federal workers live. And according to the Office of Personnel Management, the average annual salary across the workforce is $106,000. Not everyone makes that. It's just the average. But experts are saying right now, well, the first thing to do is breathe. A lot of people are going through this too. But yes, we're looking at this in two ways. First, the people who are still working. I know they're very worried. And what to consider if you're laid off, and we'll also talk about defaulting on loans.
We talked with financial advisor Stacia Williams from the Williams Group. This is her top advice.
I would start with looking at the emergency fund. How much money, how long can you go without employment if that becomes the case?
Now, let's look at what you can do if you're still an employed federal worker. She says if you don't have an emergency fund for 3 to 6 months, do your best to build one now. If you have one, divert more money to give yourself a greater safety margin and build an income plan that covers bills in case of job loss. But some people just found out a couple days ago they've been let go. So here's what to consider if you're already laid off. File for unemployment benefits immediately. Williams says the maximum payout in D.C. is $444 a week. Come up with a budget to take care of bills, housing, and food, and review your thrift savings plan. Now, some are worried about a mortgage. How do you avoid defaulting?
Reach out to your home lender. Most lenders have built-in programs that allow for you to take deferment months. So they will work with you until you do seek employment or until you figure out your financial situation.
Now, we mentioned the thrift savings plan. That's what a lot of federal workers have. But keep in mind, If you withdraw before you reach age 59 and a half, you will be taxed for that income. And if you withdraw this money, the advice is put it back when you can. Wisdom.
All right, Jacqueline Quinn, thank you very much.
So we're going to go a little more in depth in terms of some tips and ideas to share with others. So what I wanted to start with was introducing this definition to everyone. This was created by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau several years ago to kind of help us in the field and to help all of us individually think about what it means when everything is going well with our finances. So they went out and interviewed thousands of Americans to say, when everything's good with your money, what does it look like? So they came up with a definition of, it is a state of being where a person is meeting their current and ongoing obligations, have secured the future, and my favorite part, are able to make choices to enjoy life. So what it translates into is that we're managing day-to-day finances. So we're able to keep our housing, our transportation, get groceries, clothing, all the things that we need to be safe and sound in our home, and that we're doing and paying those bills on time. The other part of it is they're able to absorb financial shocks because life happens. As we're seeing federal workers right now going through this situation, are they able to withstand their bills while they're incurring this financial shock? That we're able to meet our financial goals. Sometimes we don't take a lot of time, we're busy working, maybe we're family members, where things are going on, but taking time to figure out what we want to do with our finances is really important. So is it that somebody needs a car in another year or so? Or maybe for federal workers for this time, is it be able to continue paying their bills on time until they're able to secure new employment? And then that last part about having the ability to make choices to enjoy life. It's really important, and we see this in behavioral economics, science, and research, that if people continuously deny themselves any fun whatsoever with their spending, it's gonna, at some point, things are just going to explode and they're gonna go out and spend a whole lot of money that's really gonna derail their spending plan versus had they put a little bit in every week or every month, that can kind of continuously be made and done without actually derailing the spending plan. So in this particular definition, I wanted to share it not only for us to be able to think about it, both individually and for those we're working with, but in recognizing what federal government workers who have been displaced are going through. I think it's also important to recognize that they may not be doing well in all of these pieces of the definition right now, and that's okay. We're just going to be able to focus maybe on one or the other until they get to a better place. So we're not trying to share this to say to everybody, you need to make sure you've got every single component of this definition just on track right now. They're going to be in a bit of a crisis and a bit of an upheaval. And so some of the pieces, maybe that meeting financial goals gets put on hold for a little bit and we'll come back to it later. So I wanted to share with you a little bit around some of the behavioral economics concepts. And in case you're not familiar with it, traditional economics says if we give everybody the right information at the right time, they will make the best financial decision for themselves. So if you can, take a minute and think and put it in the chat. Have you ever made a purchase or a financial decision where you were like, oh my gosh, why in the world did I do that? I know I have. So if there's anything you can think of, please just put it in the chat. Absolutely. Thank you. I know at one point, please don't judge me, we had 3 dogs in our life. We got one, next one needs a buddy, then we got the third because the first one might be going sometime soon. It was not rational. It really wasn't. And it was a very expensive time of my life. And we have since changed our mind on that. Took a cruise, a car, vacation, a timeshare. Tag still on the clothes. I mean, come on. We all have that, Stephanie. Thank you for sharing that.
Premium gas, I see.
Oh yeah,
Or
it was the
purchasing
purchasing.
on a vacation, yes. Expensive art supplies, overspending in one big amount.
Thank you all so very much for sharing that. So as you can see, we may not all be so rational in our financial decisions. So now there's a really cool field of science called behavior economics that combines the field of psychology with economics, and it actually has enough science and research behind it to show us why we do some of the irrational things that we do. So one of the things I wanted to share with you is the role of identity. So we all have different roles in our lives. We might be a family member, a friend, a coworker, a parent, and sometimes we see that we're making decisions around spending in that role versus geez, I've got to be right on top of my spending plan role. So within a role of coworker, sometimes we see where people are saying, I've really got this goal of something I want to save up for. I'm really going to take my lunch to work. I'm not going out every day. And then all of a sudden a coworker's birthday comes up and oops, now we all have to go and take the coworker out for their birthday, and that's money spent that the person didn't actually put in their spending plan, but they're making that spending decision in the role of a coworker. So I'm seeing ridiculous souvenirs and emotional spending, absolutely. We see a lot of times people are making decisions as a family member. There was a wonderful person I was coaching for a while who was a single mom with 3 children, and she was living on disability benefits, which are very minimal. And she was having a very tough time making it all work. And every single month, her family, her parents, asked her for money. And every single month, she gave it to them. And as we talked through what she was doing and what she was hoping to achieve with a goal, she was like, I really see that my biggest money value and my identity is being a daughter. And this really is harming me right now because I don't have enough money to give to my parents. So it took a little while and a lot of action thinking on her part to finally say to her parents, I love you dearly. I can help you get applied to public benefits. I told her about Veronica's team, and I'm going to need to stop giving you money until I can get to a better place. But it took a long time, but that was where she used her role of identity and saw and could understand that she needed to make change. So we try to
We
work
have
with,
a couple more comments in the chat. One was refinancing a home more than once, and someone put in an RV that they never used and sold it at a loss.
thank you for sharing that. The RV thing is very interesting. I have some neighbors who have done this as well, and you just watch it sitting there and you're like, whew, hope you're getting the, value out of it. But thank you for sharing that. Again, showing how sometimes we make decisions in different roles and identities. So what we work with people to do, and it would be great if you could actually work with individuals that you're close to think about their identity as a CFO, the Chief Financial Officer of their life. As you know, the chief financial officer is the person who's in charge of the money for an organization. They know how much money is coming in, they know what the expenses are, they make sure the organization is meeting their goals, and that more is coming in than what is going out. So we work with individuals to create that identity for themselves. So they're the CFO. We actually have them making a name for it. So when they're going to make a financial decision, they put on that role or that hat to decide whether or not this purchase should be made versus the previous role of a family member or a coworker or a friend. So think about even for yourself, what name would you come up with your CFO role? I've had people tell me they're going to call themselves Queen of Quarters, Super Saver. One told me last week she's going to call herself Planetta, like to plan and then Etta. I have a person I'm coaching who is Wealthy Gigi because she's a grandmother and she wants to become wealthy.
We have one name so far, Auditor in Charge.
Love it. Love it. That's great. So just think about taking this step with the people that you're working with, because that puts a very positive and very planning sort of role in that person's life. So they can say to whoever else, well, my auditor in charge is telling me that I really can't spend this today, but I'll put it in my list and maybe I can get to it another time. So one of the first things that we work with people on after they've gone through examining sort of their psychology of financial decision making, and in particularly in time of crisis, is to think about what is really important that money needs to be spent on now. Food, housing, utilities, transportation if that's needed, potentially childcare if they're looking for other work, maybe internet or cell phone service, again, if that's really essential to be able to getting employment. And then making sure people are looking at what are their automated payments that they may not be recognizing easily and quickly. They may be kind of racking up on a credit card. Is it the streaming services? And is that something we should look at and reduce? What are non-regular expenses, like when is insurance due? So taking it very holistic at everything that is going out and deciding what is it that's most important right now. There is a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau worksheet that will add the link to it that can go out when you get this webinar and the recording and the slides that you can use with people to help them figure out what expenses are most important to be spent on now. Then the second one is reducing those non-essential expenses. So is there a way to perhaps not eat out as much? Is there a way to get creative on meal planning and cooking at home? Are there different products that they can use that are generic and not higher brand cost? Again, are there subscription services that can be suspended or canceled? A lot of people during this time in the past have told us that this category also goes under any kind of home improvements that are not crucial. So things that they wanted to get to, like a bathroom, that's going to be put aside until they're in a better place financially. I do urge people to be careful, though, around putting off auto repairs, because sometimes an auto repair can be more costly if it isn't done now versus waiting to be done later. There's, again, another worksheet that we'll send you a link to for this. So with this, if we can talk a little bit about either ways that you have done or have helped others, or just ideas you may have on what are some tips just to spend less money. You know, when you go to the grocery store and they say at the end of the receipt, you know, Sue Rogan, you saved $12.65. I didn't actually save that $12.65. Theoretically, I spent it less because I got some discounts at the grocery store. So what are some ways to actually spend less money? What are some ideas that you have?
Join
Doing other
other services.
Yeah.
Generic tastes a-okay. Buy groceries that are on sale, make use of coupons, eat at home more, move to a place with cheaper rent, look for sales and use coupons, drink your own coffee at home, uh, not not going more to stores. Also a waiting period on large expenses. I want it today. I'm going to wait 48 hours and see if I still want it. Read library books. Got a lot of good ones in here. Shop for groceries at Aldi instead of Giant. Pack lunch. Yes on leaving things in the cart. Today I have joined boycotts, calling creditors and other services and requesting rate and cost decreases and threaten to end their services. Another one, combined trips. Shop for groceries online to avoid, stop for groceries online to avoid impulse spending in the store. Paying cards on time.
These are great ideas. These are awesome. Thank you all so much. I've definitely done some of those with myself as well. The not going into stores. I am literally on a ban from Target. I am not allowed in there. I haven't been in there for a year. I can't go back. I just do not behave well in there.
We got a couple of more. There's monthly food package programs, Share Food Network. Someone stated use Facebook Marketplace to buy, use for cheap, build a budget, join buy nothing groups to give and get items.
Awesome.
And someone put in here, pay yourself first.
Oh, these are great ideas. Thank you all so much for sharing these. We'll go over a couple that we've heard, but you guys have just a plethora of really great ideas here. So to the person who said build the budget, I totally agree. Create that spending plan and keep on track of it to make sure things aren't going over it. Making that list before going shopping, because as some people said, you go in there and you're just like, oh, look at this. This is a really good price and everything. You just end up putting it in your cart as well. Cut down on the eating out. That is the category that most people have the worst difficulty with, is either eating out, ordering out. doing carry out. We were working with a couple coaching with them in Baltimore who, until they tracked their expenses, didn't know they were spending $1,000 a month on DoorDash. And once they saw it, they were like, oh my God, I don't want to do this anymore. That's too much. So actually figuring out how much is being spent on it and really putting a lid on it. One tip that people share with us is that many of you may or may not remember the envelope method of doing spending plan or budgeting. And that's where people take different envelopes, they list their categories on them, rent, electricity, food, whatever. They put money, literally cash in them, and then they're able to save up for when that bill is due, or when they go get groceries, they just use the money from that envelope. That traditionally in the past had been really used on cash based people who maybe worked in the service industry and really were very cash oriented. It's a little challenging in terms of safety, I would say, making sure that, that cash is still around the house or being, protected. But some people share with us that they use that method for a category that they have difficulty with, such as eating out. So they'll put a certain amount of money in it in the beginning of the month, and when that's it, they're done. They're done with eating out. They go in the pantry, they find something to cook. Another tip could be is calling insurance companies and asking them literally the words, can you run my numbers to see if you can find me a better price? Insurance companies are not going to call us to say, hey, we got a deal for you. We can lower your insurance bill. We need to call them and see what they can do for us. So I really encourage everyone, particularly anyone experiencing financial hardship, to check with the insurance companies that they have the products from and see if they can get a lower price. Watching all of the memberships, subscriptions, phone plans, and as many of you said, putting something in the cart and then hang on to it for before you actually do it. If you're in person, use that 10-second rule before you actually buy it, put it down, walk away from it. And then think about creative ways to share service among friends, family, neighbors, whether it's babysitting, cleaning, walking the dog, instead of actually going and doing it and paying for it. Knowing return policies is important because in Maryland, stores can have whatever return policy it is they want. From you can return it in 90 days, 30 days, 15 days, you cannot return it at all. They're allowed to choose what their return policy it is. And we see many consumers actually losing money to them because they didn't know when they bought something that they couldn't return it. They made an assumption that they had 90 days to bring it back. And when times are hard economically, stores typically change their return policies. What had been 90 days turns into 30 days. What had been 30 days turns into 2 weeks. What had been 2 weeks turns into exchange only. So making sure before people buy things, they know what the return policy is. And then, as several of you mentioned, using the library, they have great resources, and buying things that are used versus brand new. So these are just great tips to share with each other and with all of us and with the people that we're supporting during this time.
Sue, we had a couple more tips. Someone put in the chat, put a limit on cost of groceries ahead of time. Another one was move money at payday automatically to savings for different goals. And the last one that I see is if you have to go out with friends, eat at home first, and when you get to the restaurant, get a drink, soup, or salad only. Sometime I get nothing.
Awesome. These are great strategies. I have a neighbor who they go out to eat fairly frequently, and they're a couple, and they split an entree, like literally splitting a hamburger. I've tried to get my partner to do that, and he's like, no, thank you. But it's a great idea to like minimize what you're getting when you go out. All right. So our next step, and you mentioned a little bit in the chat before too, is contacting creditors. So if someone is experiencing financial hardship, talking to their landlord, their mortgage lender or car lender or utility or student loan company, it's really important to make that step. It can be a difficult call, but instead of just waiting to go into default and then having that negative relationship, it's really beneficial to reach out to the creditor to say, here's what's going on. I was just laid off, or I've, done a buyout. I'm not going to have income coming in. What is it that we can work out? It's easier to work out these alternative payment plans before actually missing payments. There's another tip that we'll send to you all too for the Consumer Financial Protection Letter that has letters and sample language to use for these calls. Now, if the person has debt and they need to address this during this time, the first thing is for them to make a very lengthy or, comprehensive list of what debt they have. Kind of do some prioritizing on what debt is it that they need to focus on, what can wait a little bit. What are those minimum payments that are available to keep that debt current? And then think about refinance or looking at and researching if they have very expensive high interest rates. Is there a way to refinance that to a lower interest rate and actually not pay as much interest on that debt? Really being very careful about avoiding any new debt. And then credit cards, which sometimes people lean on in difficult times, making sure we're only using those for the absolutely essential things that we absolutely need to have, because we want to minimize how much debt we're carrying on them and correspondingly how much interest we have to pay on them. And then think about different ways, maybe a little creatively for some individuals, about how to get some money coming in. So is there a way to pick up just a side gig that even might be temporary while they're looking for permanent employment? We'll talk a little bit later about applying for unemployment for the Maryland Department of Labor, getting screened. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute too. Is there a place in their home that they could rent out a room to someone and get some income coming in? I had one gentleman whose income ceased, and he realized that he had a lot of vinyl albums, which have gotten really popular lately. So he's starting to sell them as a way to get income coming in his house. And so just some general financial tips is, and we're not giving legal or tax advice during this workshop whatsoever, but if someone took the federal buyout, that is taxable income and something they need to plan for. If the person is not yet invested in the federal government employees retirement system, talk to a professional. Again, we are not giving this advice, but talk to a professional about rolling that money over to, it should be an IRA, not the IRS, individual retirement account. If the person, however, is vested in the federal government's retirement system, talk to a professional who knows those systems very well. And you'll hear a little bit more about that in a minute. Avoid using the retirement funds if they can, because as you heard in that video, there could be penalties and tax implications. And one thing to really help people understand and to engage in is, don't try and handle all of this stress around the financial situation and the loss of income individually and alone. Please discuss this with their family, their trusted friends, whoever they feel comfortable that they can actually talk to, because we really want to be careful with people in their mental health state during this difficult time, and talking to others can really help them. So I just also want to round out with a quick word about protecting money. So during this time, we are going to see, and we've already seen a little bit of fraudulent activity that is targeting this vulnerable population of federal government employees who have been displaced. So one thing they can do in terms of protecting their credit is they can either put a fraud alert or a credit freeze. A fraud alert means they're going to contact the credit reporting bureaus, one of them, then they contact the other three. Even though that process is in place, I still suggest people contact all three just to ensure it actually has happened. And what that means is, if the person is going to apply for credit, additional verification needs to be done by the lender to ensure that this person is really who they say they are. So this could be sometimes where someone's concerned about identity theft. They don't really know they've been a victim of it yet, but they just might be a little more cautious and want the lenders to have to do additional verification to ensure they are the one who's getting the credit. Now, credit freeze is exactly what it says. It shuts down credit in that person's name, either by themselves or by others. The way they do it is to call or email, or it's actually very easy to go online and go onto each of the credit reporting bureaus and place a freeze. So that is fairly effective in shutting down identity theft or credit being opened up in the person's name. It's also fairly easy, if it's frozen and the person needs credit, to unfreeze it and then freeze it back. So if the person needs to go get a personal loan to handle some of the debt, they unfreeze their credit on each of the credit reporting bureaus. They go get that personal loan, they wait a little bit until the loan's approved, and then they go and put the freeze back on their credit. Given the rise of financial exploitation and scams in the recent years, it's something that all of us should think about doing just in general. So all of us, as well as people that we are working with. So I wanted to share this with you again, just to talk about the rise of scams and financial exploitation. So things have changed in the recent years where it is not so much one individual who might be in another country contacting us over our phone and saying, hey, what's your social security number? It seems like a lot of us have gotten that message that we're not going to give that out over the phone to someone we don't know. So now the methods are changing a bit. You're going to hear about text messages, emails, and I wanted to share with you with this particular case here is that in India, there was a call center that made over $10 billion by scamming Americans. So the business of scams has literally turned into that, a business. This had hundreds of employees in this call center. They had an HR department, they had marketing department, they had legal department. They always call all the business departments that you have in a legitimate business. This company had, although it existed only for the purpose of scamming Americans. So we need to understand that it isn't just our older seniors who are vulnerable. These criminals are getting very, very sophisticated, and they are using methods such as behavioral economics to separate us from our dollars. So we really need to have everybody to be on guard and understand also that new technology, such as AI, is being used in these scams. You may have just heard some things on the news, but if not, AI is being used to clone our voices, whether they're listening to our voicemail messages or social media posts. They're able to sort of go through and troll through all those platforms to get our voices, clone it, and then use that to contact a family member to try and act like there's this huge emergency and I need you to send money right here and now. So it is getting very sophisticated. We do all need to be aware and on guard and helping everyone in our community understand that when they get a text or a strange phone call, to stop, to breathe, to not act on it until they verify what is happening.
Sue, someone just put in the chat that there's a new text scam alerted today that people are texting, quote, hello, to see if you respond.
So it's just something as simple as that most people would do that, and they would say, who is this? I've gotten text messages like that too, whether it was like your social security number has been, compromised, or who is this? And I'm not responding with who I am because I don't know who you are. So unfortunately, it's not just phone calls anymore. There's multiple ways that people are attempting to separate us from our dollars.
Yes, a few weeks ago, I received a bunch of different texts that were in reference to the Easy Pass.
Yeah.
And those were scams. I was receiving texts and emails in reference to that.
Absolutely. And the Federal Trade Commission, I think, just put something out today about something similar to that, or something that looks like it's from the Federal Trade. The Federal Trade Commission is not going to text you.
Quite a few people have them. Yes, and UPS as well. Someone just pointed out. Yes, I've received that too. Or the infamous you have a package that's held up somewhere, and you need to respond so that they can deliver it.
And that one almost got me because Amazon and I are pretty close, and I'm always sort of expecting a package and stuff. So I'm like, oh, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, this is doesn't seem quite right.
Yes. Someone also stated that the MVA has a notice on website about the scam as well.
So look how many of us on this workshop have received these scam emails. So it's got to be effective or they wouldn't continue to do it. So it is really important for all of us to make sure we're telling people, and particularly I think as well, young adults who sometimes seem a little more apt to click on things and maybe just investigate things and maybe not understand that this is something they shouldn't be. And one thing too, I try to let people know as well is, when you're shopping online, which again, right, is kind of the shopping experience of today's world. The companies often ask for an email to give you a 10% discount, right? It had been before, it was just the email. Now it's email and your cell phone number. And I, like everyone else, want to get 10% off for sure. I'm willing to do an email, which I have dedicated for shopping. I'm not willing to do my text, not my phone number, because I'm already getting all of these scam texts. My concern is if cybersecurity experts hack into this company that I gave my phone number to get my 10% discount, now they're going to text me with all these scam, texts that we've heard about. So it's something that I choose not to, it irritates me and it's hard, but I will forgo that 10% discount to try and minimize who has access to my cell phone. It's not foolproof by any means, but
Yeah, someone said, old motto, trust but verify.
very true. Very, very true. And I just wanted to share this with you again, just some data, just to show how it really was a dramatic and somewhat unexpected, but very dramatic increase in identity theft and fraud in 2020 due to the pandemic, and it has not gone down since. So it's not going back down to our levels of 2001. So again, it's just being aware that there are a lot of different individuals and companies whose sole purpose is to try to get access to either our money or our data. So the Consumer Sentinel Network, which is data from the Federal Trade Commission from 2024, show that in the US there were 6.5 million reports of complaints. The top one was the credit reporting bureaus, which we'll put aside for today because there's a lot of issues there. But identity theft and imposter scams were the next top two. Imposter scam is literally when anybody pretends to be someone that they're not. And that we see in, as we've talked about, the UPS, IRS, Social Security. And one of the top areas of scams now is romance scams. And we've been doing a lot of work with the Adult Protective Services staff, and this is what they're seeing, is that their individuals that they are working with and helping are really being targeted for romance scams. So again, the message to get out is when someone's talking with someone, they feel like they're into a relationship, our conversation needs to start with, have you ever met them? Have you ever seen them? How do you know they exist? Because there are so many different methods that people are using to create this fake relationship and therefore get access to money. A new trend, oh, go ahead, Veronica.
Someone put up that they were a victim of JHU medical portal breach as well. And someone stated that they get many fake PayPal emails saying that they have large charges and to click to review.
Thanks for sharing these so that we're all aware of all the different methods. Cybersecurity hacks and breaches, data breaches are a serious concern today. So the main messaging that we try to give out for that is for people to minimize who has information on them as much as possible. If anybody's asking for it, why is it you need it? Do you have to have my Social Security number, or can I just pay for this item without providing that kind of personal information? So we need to minimize who has access to it. And we need to protect our debit cards and use credit cards because they have more legal protection than debit cards do.
Yeah. Someone just shared that they had a patient that was a victim of a romance scam for, looks like $500.
Oh. And those are, unfortunately, and with my background in consumer protection, I don't mean to be negative, but we can't get that money back. That money is probably likely not to be restored to that person. So we just need to do as much education and community outreach as we can to help people avoid these losses, because getting restitution for them is few and far between, if ever. So one of the trends.
Oh, there's a question, Sue. Someone asked, even if you were talking about what's protected and what's not, and they're asking, even if your debit card is associated with a Master or Visa?
Good question. So a debit card is still it is a debit card if it is a card that is attached to your checking account. The reason that it has the branding of either MasterCard or Visa on it is to be able to be used at places for purchase of service. The credit cards, it could be under American Express, Discover, MasterCard, or Visa, are literally a credit card, and those two different types of cards have different legal protections. So for example, for a debit card, if you don't notify the financial institution within 60 days of a fraudulent transaction, so money's been taken out of your account, you didn't notice it, you didn't notify the financial institution, under federal law, they do not have to help the consumer. Now, many of them will because that's their customer, but they legally don't have to. So you have more protection if you're using not a debit card, but an actual credit card. Thanks for the question. So one thing I just wanted to point out before I turn this over to Veronica is we are seeing now over the last year and a half or so is that younger people are really becoming targets of financial scams. You can see here they reported losing money to fraud more often than older people. However, and so the average case was about $497 with a median loss overall and for all the consumers that filed complaints. But when an older person had a loss, the loss was much higher. So age 29 to 29, they were losing average $417, but 80 and over, as you can see a little bit in some of the chat here too, the average was $1,650. So again, the main messaging is all of us are targets for different financial exploitation and scams. And so it's important to ask why people need information. What are they going to do with it? How are they going to protect it? And always have sort of a filter or a lens of why am I getting this information? Why are they asking for this money or finances? So we created this for the pandemic and the COVID time period where people were really having difficulty with finances. And I wanted to share it today because we nicknamed it the SMART method of handling finances. So what money can be stopped or postponed going out? Monitoring. If there was ever a time to make sure you're tracking every single dollar, it's during a time of financial uncertainty. So creating that spending plan and tracking every single dollar. What money is going to be allowed to be spent? And of that money that we're going to allow, is there a way to reduce it and stretch it out? And then coming back to our conversation about making sure we're talking about it and asking for help as we need it. So going back to our definition of financial well-being, managing the day-to-day finances, absorbing financial shocks, meeting our goals, and having the ability to make choices. So with that, I will turn it to Veronica.
There is a question, Sue. Any advice to convince someone they are in the middle of a romance scam? And while you're doing that, answering that question, I'm going to see about pulling up my slides because I took down a couple of screens. So let's see what happens.
Gotcha. Okay. So really great question. And any ideas that others have, please put in the chat because this has become almost an epidemic here in Maryland. And even to the point where Adult Protective Services were telling me that a couple of people they're working with have gone so far as to sell their home and send this money to the criminal. So some ideas, and the first thing I think I would say is using the verbiage or the wordage of, you know, you're being scammed, right, is probably the last effective way to handle this. So I think it's more of the open-ended questions, you know, so how is it that you met this individual? Have you ever met them in person? What is it that they do? Have they been asking you for money? And there's some really good AARP resources too to show people along with Project Safe here in Maryland. And oh, great. Oh, thank you for putting, I just see it in the chat now that there's a podcast. And I think trying to stay as close to that person as possible, because what the scammer is likely trying to do is to isolate them. That's typically one of their strategies, is to make sure they don't tell anybody, don't let anybody know about what's happening here. So you want to keep that conversation going frequently, even on a daily basis, about when did you talk to them last? Maybe you could think of some questions they should ask about what are their interests, or, you know, when's the last time they're at a pet, or what's their job, or making sure that you're proposing questions for that person to ask the scammer that we know is a scammer, so that it might show some red flags to them. So those are some ideas that I have, and thank you for the resource.
Oh, someone said, are there any laws in the works to help protect persons from financial abuse?
There absolutely are. There are some in place. I would say the words protect. The ones that I'm aware of that are in place are basically enforcement if someone is a victim of a financial scam. Any laws that are going to help protect really kind of get to trying to do education and outreach. And that's where the Project Safe, which, as Veronica's talking, I'll find that link to it and throw it in there. Project Safe is a collaboration in Maryland of state government agencies and other groups who are interested in exactly this. How do we protect people from financial exploitation? So I'll throw their website and resources in here too.
Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and Share. Okay, am I all right?
We,
So it's showing your presentation one where it has your notes over there.
Okay.
Not
give me
the
one second.
actual just PowerPoint slideshow.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me-
So I just put the link in there for Project Safe. There is an event coming up in June with AARP to do Protect Week. So you'll be hearing more about that as well. They have great events and resources to really make this a campaign, if you will, to help people avoid financial exploitation. Oh, thank you for that. Um,
Okay, how is it now?
yes, that's looking good. Chantel, I don't think I have the availability to chat.
you see,
Me get
Here
some
it is.
yeah,
screen.
I'm sharing it. I'm gonna share the link.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Okay. All right, here we go. All right, so resources. And my first that I want to share with folks in reference to the resources is something that was on a slide that's going to be coming up that's in one of the resources. That's a webinar that we have on here. And one of the speakers, her name is Michelle Singletary. She is with the Washington Post, had provided what was called the 5 Essence when thinking of someone going into a financial crisis. And I wanted to put this with the resources because I think a lot of times this kind of gets overlooked before doing anything else. And the first part of it was number 1, stop. Do not, it's okay to stop. Stop. Take care of your mental health for a moment. And give yourself an opportunity to breathe and to figure out exactly what is happening, because there are a lot of things that are going on that's happening to you and around you. So number 1, it's okay to take that moment and to just stop. And then when you move out of that stop phase, slow down. You do not have to make a very quick decision in a moment's notice. It's okay for you to make sure that you check out everything, that you get as much information as you can in order to make an informed decision. And then when you're ready to move, begin to start. And the first thing, going through a budget, creating a budget for yourself if you don't already have one. If you do have one, going through, as Sue talked about early on, and doing some reassessment of that budget. What are some things that you can look at decreasing spending on? Or are there things that you can eliminate altogether right about now until your finances become different again, moving in a more positive direction. uh Suspend. It's okay to suspend any of your actions until you have good information of what is going to take place, whether that's getting information from one of the professionals when it comes to maybe financial counseling or advising. But it's all right to put certain things on hold at that point in time. And last but certainly not least, sustain. It's very important to begin to, continue your relationships through this tough time, especially with family members and friends that can support you so you're not going through this situation alone. Some of the resources that I want to talk about also include benefits. Some of the benefits may not apply to folks. Many benefits, I do want to emphasize are it's based on an individual's income. So it is income based, such as Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is SNAP, formerly the Food Stamp Program, medical assistance, because some people may have lost their medical benefits once the job ends, or they may not be able to afford paying for it out of pocket once the position ends. There's also what's called the Maryland Homeowners Property Tax Credit Program. That program can help with your property taxes if you are eligible. It's a program through the state of Maryland, as well as there's one that's called the Renter's Tax Credit. Just to clarify, none of these that say tax credit involves your tax return itself. So these are not things that, I know tax season just ended, and so the word taxes may be triggering for some people, but it's not something that is found specifically on your tax return. These are actual programs that are through the state of Maryland. And if you are a homeowner, and you can still be paying a mortgage, so it doesn't mean that your home has to be paid off. This is something that you can possibly take advantage of. If you are a renter and you are paying market rent, there's also a tax credit for you that you can take advantage of. The differences between the two is that with the homeowner property tax credit, that is a reduction. It shows up as a credit on your tax lien when it comes to your property for your jurisdiction. So you'll see it as a credit. For renters, it will show up in the form of actual money. And that is based upon how much you're paying in market rent versus what your income is. So it does not go to your landlord. It comes directly to you, the person who is renting.
I have
Um,
a question.
yes.
Do you happen to know the income limit for single individuals for SNAP and MA?
Honestly, I don't off the top of my head, because they have recently changed. So just a couple of months or so ago, all of the scales for certain benefits have changed. The positive piece is that those scales have increased, so it allows for more people to be eligible. Okay. But I can give you the information where you can go and look up the information and see exactly what those income scales are. There's also what's called the Maryland Homestead Property Tax Credit as well. I remember a few years ago, there was a very big push for those homeowners to apply for this particular credit. The good thing about this credit is that once you submit your application and you are approved, you do not have to put that application in again. It actually continuously gives you again, a credit, a discount on your property taxes, that particular one. Whereas the homeowner's property tax credit and the renter's tax credit are programs that you have to apply for every year, because they're income-based programs. For those who are homeowners and find themselves maybe having some issues or already feel upfront once the job loss occurs with their mortgage, there is for the state of Maryland, there's the Hope Hotline. And I do have the phone number on the slide, and you can contact them. You can go onto the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development website as well, and they do have a link, but you can contact them and they will pair the individual up based on their needs with a certified housing counselor that can talk to you one-on-one and work with you through your options when it comes to your mortgage, and if you're going to be having problems with paying your mortgage. And they are a really good resource. And there is also the Maryland Community Action Agency. These are agencies that are spread out across the state of Maryland, including Baltimore City. So in different local jurisdictions, they go by different names. But what their main thrust is to help people with additional resources. So, and those can be other benefits such as rental assistance programs. Specific jurisdictions may have already are starting to put monies earmarked aside in order to help people with, say, their rent. Or there may be additional monies besides the energy assistance program to help with the cost of your utilities, things of that nature. So those are also agencies that you can look at. These are resources. Number one, with the medical assistance, if you have minor children in your household, just remember that under the state of Maryland, all children are to receive health insurance. So coverage for both adults and children can be obtained through Maryland Health Connections. And so there's a link that's online that you can go through. There's also a telephone number that you can call, and they will do your application over the phone. I have been working with them for quite a few years, ever since the Affordable Health Care Act was instituted. And I'm happy to say that every client that myself and my team have sent their way from CASH, I've never had a complaint about this organization. They are really great with customer service and helping people to navigate through their healthcare options. And not only are they certified in getting people signed up for medical assistance, but if there's someone who's not income eligible for medical assistance, they are licensed and certified to go through the marketplace and to look at what is available to them through the marketplace, based on affordability and based on what their medical needs may be as well. I also have here the SDAT, which is the Real Property Data Search. This is for the state of Maryland. You can Google Maryland Real Property Search, and what will come up is the SDOT link. And what that is that homeowners can go to this website, and if you don't know what property tax credits you're currently receiving, you can click on that, put in your address of your home, and it will show everything from the ownership of the home to your block, your lot number, things of that nature, which helps you to fill out certain paperwork for the homeowner's tax credit. As well, towards the bottom of the screen, it will show any property tax credits that you are currently receiving or have received in the past. And it will also show on there about the homestead credit. So if you're not sure if you're receiving that one, if you go to that website, it will show you at the bottom whether or not you are receiving it. And if you are not, I would encourage you and those that you work with to submit an application, because again, you only have to submit that application one time, and then the credit stays in effect. It's in effect until the property changes ownership. Okay. And then there is also Maryland 211. They are a human services, health and human services get help type of website. They you can access them by the web, or you can actually, just like we dial 911 for emergencies, you can dial 211 and you can get someone over the phone that can help you with whatever resource or resources you're looking for. So they provide you with information, their information and referral. And so they have a multitude of categories that they can direct you to, including food pantries, if that's something that someone needs. Any questions so far? Okay. So next that is on the list is the state government resources. So this is a website that takes you to the Maryland Department of Labor. And so there they have set up a page that is specific for former federal employees and other workers that are impacted by the federal government transition. And that's a really helpful website as well. And just to show you one of the pages that they have on here. As you can see, there are different icons, so you can look into unemployment insurance, so applying for unemployment benefits. There are transitional support and job opportunities that are listed. They also talk about health coverage. I'm quite sure that takes you to Maryland Health Connections website as well, because Maryland Health Connections is the designated organization for the state of Maryland, and their charge has been, ever since the Affordable Care Act has been in play, if you will. They are the responsible party for making sure that all Marylanders get connected to health coverage benefits. There are housing resources, there are resources for veterans. There's also food, cash, and other assistance, as well as legal services that are on there as well. So it's a pretty robust website for those who need to access it. The webinar that is posted here is a very good one in reference to managing your finances during uncertain times, and it's specifically for federal employees. It talks about the different services that are out there and some of the things that you can think about that can safeguard your finances. One of the things that I think it does a really good job of is there was a previous slide that Sue went over in reference to the different retirements that federal employees have, and they have a very good breakdown as to what each of those mean, what the ages are, plus the number of years of service. And so it's very good for folks who may not be familiar with the retirement system or systems that the federal government has. And so it does a nice way of helping to lay people like myself to understand what it is that folks are eligible based on their age, based on their years of service. And so it ties into what it is that they are eligible for, which I think is also a great resource. And you can access it for free. And that's another great word that I love, free. And a part of that is the helping to find the Certified Financial Planner program. There is a pro bono service that is out there. They are willing to help to advise federal government employees right about now, and helping them to figure out what they might want to access at this point in time, what the ramifications may be in accessing some of those benefits. Because again, we still have to remember everything is based on age, also. And so we have different levels of folks who are being laid off right about now. You have some people who, when they heard of the layoffs, were in a position where they could retire. They had the age and they had the number of years, and they decided that they were going to go ahead and put in for their retirement. You have some people who might not be that far away from being able to access these benefits, and may decided to have taken the buyout and can, with other resources, can wait until they access these benefits. And then unfortunately, you have people on the other end of the spectrum who they may have as they say, the years in, but they may not be old enough. You have quite a few folks who entered into federal government services in their 20s or straight out of college. And so they may have spent 20 to 30 years there now, but they are not old enough. They're not at 59 and a half years old as of yet, to be able to access anything without receiving penalties. So, certified financial planners can walk those folks through all of those things, go over their options with them, and help them to develop some sort of a plan, in case whatever they decide to do, what to do next once they access those different benefits, and to get themselves sort of insulated for any shocks that might come, if they are being penalized for early withdrawal. Another service is financial coaching, where you can work with a trained coach. Um, they have services in multiple languages. Uh, a person can pick their coach. The service is virtual, which makes it great because then you and your coach can decide around your own timetable when is it good to meet with one another. You don't have to pick up and go to a particular location and sit and meet with somebody face to face. And you pick the goal that you want to focus on, and they can help you to create action items. And a coach is someone who is supportive and motivational. I tell people all the time, when I think about a financial coach, I think about that as someone being a part of your health and wellness team, if you will. But it's health and wellness for your finances, the same way we decide sometimes, either by choice or sometimes by force, based upon our medical and physical needs or our own personal goals. We may decide that in order to improve our health, that we are going to get a coach or personal trainer. And so when we do that, that person helps us to set some goals. But really and truly, we're the ones that are the drivers of it. They just help us, they just kind of tease out of us, if you will, what it is that we're looking to do, and then helping us to set some realistic goals. And then they're the support person. So basically, they're the accountability partner in all of this, if you will. If you we do provide financial coaching. Actually, we have a wonderful partner with Trust Plus, who is fantastic at doing this. And so you can always text to Cash Coach, as you can see there. Or you can contact the phone number that's listed to get the link to the Trust Plus app. And once you receive the app and get the app set up, Then you will go through the process of doing a little bit of an evaluation so that they can figure out who would be a good match for you. And so sometimes people are trying to figure out what they might want to use a coach for. And as you can see, this is a quick little bullet points that kind of help you to figure out whether or not a financial coach, because there's a difference between having a financial coach and working with a financial planner, a certified financial planner. So the coach is going to be the person that, you know, if you have a goal related to developing your budget or your spending plan, if you want to improve or build up your credit, um, if you're looking to maybe pay down some debt, or if you just have some short-term goals where you're trying to, for instance, establish an emergency savings, or you're looking to make a purchase in the short term. So that's what a coach would be. That's that accountability person. That's your cheerleader. That's going to motivate you and help you through the process.
And so is this program only for Maryland residents?
Yes.
And is there an income limit for the coaching?
No. Mm-mm.
Perfect.
Yeah. Our only program so far that has an income limit is our volunteer income tax assistance program, because that's through the IRS. We provide, my team, we provide benefit screenings, and there's no income limit for it to be screened. We can screen anyone. We just emphasize that the programs that we screen for, every one of them have sometimes a different income limit or cutoff, if you will, and it just varies based on household size as well. And even with that, sometimes there's some exceptions to the rules because, for instance, for SNAP, they want to make sure that seniors can take advantage of SNAP. So you have some seniors who are retired, and some of them are federal employees, and they have a pretty good retirement or pension that they get every month. And so they are still eligible based upon their age. They get a supplemental amount. It would not be the maximum amount for one person because the income is still taken into account, but because they're a senior, they're not totally discounted from that particular program. And just to share with folks some of the outcomes, the coaching outcomes that we have had around debt reduction. As you can see, they've helped a total of about 51% of the folks that they've worked with in that particular area. They've helped people to improve their credit. 33% they've assisted. And as you can see, the average increase in credit score is 34% when they start working with somebody. So they've had some really great numbers since when working with this group in reference to achieving some of the goals that people have set for themselves. So I'm not sure if Sue, if you wanted to add anything in reference to the coaching program or their outcomes, since you work pretty closely with them on the data piece.
No, just mostly letting people know to share this information with individuals. And I think that federal employees who, have had this change in their life would be a good fit for talking to either the CFPs who are doing pro bono work to get a holistic look at what to do, and then implementing that plan with our coaching program.
And again, here's the information if folks want to stay connected. So there's information here in reference to the coaching if you want to do a screenshot so that you can have the information if you're interested or wanting to pass it along to someone, as well as the website for Cash Campaign of Maryland. And on that site, you can get connected to our services as well. The free tax preparation, Again, we will be starting the back tax program pretty soon. And right now, what's up on the site, if you click on the link when you go to the website, is a interest form. So if someone needs the back tax services, you can actually click on that interest form, fill out your information. The form is pretty straightforward because they pretty much just need your name, telephone number that they can reach you at, and email address as well if you have an email. If you don't, that's fine. It's not required. And they have a little check off section to check off what year or years you need to do. And just an FYI, if you or anyone you know missed out on being able to get their 2024 return prepared for free and they were eligible for VITA services, once April the 15th left us, then that officially became a back tax as well. So there's still an opportunity to get the 2024 done through our program as well.
And there's a question, but I should quickly mention, we'll put it in the chat, that there are resources for federal government employees from Montgomery County and Prince George's County. But the question we're looking for is, I don't know that age allowed some to meet qualifications. What is considered senior?
Everybody has a different definition of senior. In some circles, a senior, believe it or not, is 55 and up. In other circles, it's 62 or 65. It all depends upon what program you're looking at.
Well, I know we're at time, and so thank you all so much for taking time of your day to be here with us. Shantae, thank you for the opportunity from the School of Social Work, and we hope this was helpful for everyone.
Thank you, Sue and Veronica and Cash Campaign, for all of this information. This was great. For everyone that joined us today, give us 10 minutes and then you can go back to the learning management system to do the evaluation and to gain your certificate if you need CEs. Also, a lot of people asked about the slides. Can you send those? Can we share those? Can you send those to me, Sue? And then I will place those onto the LMS, the system, and you can go back, participants, you can go back and download those whenever you're ready. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a good one.